Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here because today we are unpacking a truly classic piece of storytelling. We're looking at the legendary fable of Tenali Rama and the King's Talking Parrot. Now, if you're already familiar with Tenali Rama, you know we're in for a total masterclass in wit, strategy, and just brilliant communication. But what we're going to do today is break down the exact mechanics of how a seemingly impossible, literally life-threatening situation was completely diffused using nothing more than a very careful selection of words. It's a fascinating narrative, and the lessons here, they are absolutely crucial for how we communicate and make decisions right now today. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever made a strict rule or, a harsh decision in a moment of extreme emotion that you later totally regretted? Think about it. Maybe you were incredibly angry or maybe just overly protective and you set a boundary or gave an ultimatum that, in hindsight, kind of backed you into a corner. Keep that feeling in mind, because that exact human flaw, acting strictly out of intense emotion without thinking of the consequences, is the catalyst for the whole royal drama we're about to explore. Section 1. The King's Unique Gift. Our story begins with King Krishnadevaraya and a highly intelligent, incredibly beautiful parrot that he quickly grew to absolutely adore. Section 2. The terrifying and harsh order. So the king's intense protectiveness over this bird very quickly morphs into a disproportionate and honestly dangerous rule. Listen to this direct quote from the king's decree. He tells his appointed servant, "Take good care of this parrot. If anyone comes and gives me the news that the parrot is dead, they will be given the death penalty." I mean, just let the sheer absurdity and the weight of that sink in for a second. No way, right? The king has essentially built a deadly trap out of his own passion. He's made it a capital offense simply to be the bearer of bad news. It's the ultimate impossible mandate. The servant is now living under this constant, terrifying threat that is entirely out of his control because, well, as we all know, every living creature eventually dies. Section 3. The crisis. So, despite the servant's absolute best efforts, one morning, the parrot suddenly dies, throwing this poor innocent man into a total panic. In his absolute terror, the servant knows he just can't solve this puzzle alone. He needs a lifeline, fast. So he goes to the one person in the kingdom known for his unparalleled wisdom and presence of mind, Tenali Rama. The servant explains this whole terrifying situation. And, true to his reputation, Tenali Rama doesn't panic. Actually, scratch that, he is perfectly calm. He tells the servant not to worry and confidently promises that he's going to handle the whole situation and deliver the news to the king himself. This is where the true brilliance of the story begins. Section 4. Tenali Rama's clever plan and the magical play of words. Now, what's really interesting about this is how Tenali approaches the king. He knows he can't just change the law, so he goes to the royal court and announces, "Majesty, your beloved parrot is in a very wonderful state today." Notice that framing? He doesn't say terrible state or bad news. He completely sparks the king's eager curiosity, and the king immediately asks, "Well, what happened?" And this is where Tenali Rama delivers an absolute masterpiece of descriptive framing. He describes this wonderful state of the parrot by saying, "Majesty, today he is neither eating anything nor drinking water. He is neither speaking nor opening his eyes. He is lying completely still in one single place." I mean, imagine the slow, deliberate comedic timing of that delivery. Tenali is systematically listing every single symptom of death, step by step, building immense tension, but he is meticulously avoiding the actual word dead. Well, the descriptions work perfectly. The king instantly panics. He doesn't even wait for Tenali to finish his thought. He rushes right over to the parrot himself. He looks down, sees that the bird is indeed lifeless, and in his shock, the king shouts out, "Oh, this means the parrot is dead." And boom. Right there, the trap is sprung. And this brilliantly illustrates the genius of Tenali Rama's strategy. Think about it. Tenali merely described the physical state of the bird. It was the king who explicitly stated the conclusion that the bird was dead. When the king shouted those words, Tenali Rama very politely stepped in and said, "Majesty, you were the one who said this. I only described his condition." He masterfully shifted the burden of those forbidden words right back onto the person who made the forbidden rule in the first place. Tenali didn't break the rule. He forced the king to break his own rule. Section 5. Anger and its consequences. It's in this exact moment, in a sudden flash of realization, that the king finally sees the fatal flaw in his emotionally charged decree. Let's move on and see how this builds. We see a really stark contrast in the king's behavior here. On one hand, you have his initial state, right? Angry, threatening, issuing an absolute order of death.
but now, his current state is one of calm realization, reflection, and ultimately pardoning the servant. The king completely forgives the terrified servant. But even more than that, he praises Tenali Rama's quick wit, openly acknowledging the lesson by stating that one must definitely always think about the consequences before giving harsh orders.
The moral of the fable: wisdom over anger. The entire royal court began to appreciate and just applaud Tenali Rama's incredible presence of mind. And that brings us to the ultimate moral of the fable, which is the triumph of wisdom over anger. The story resolves beautifully, not just because an innocent life was saved, but because the king himself grew from the experience and publicly recognized the danger of his own impulsivity. Which leads us directly into our core takeaways from this text. So, the crucial point is clear. First, orders given in anger or on impulse, they can put completely innocent people in grave danger. When we lead or make rules based purely on high emotion, we create collateral damage. Second, thoughtful decision-making is true wisdom. Wisdom isn't just about being the smartest person in the room, it's about the pause, that critical pause between feeling an emotion and acting on it. And finally, always consider the long-term consequences before issuing harsh mandates or ultimatums. It doesn't matter if you're a king ruling a nation, a manager leading a team, or a parent setting rules in your own house. Which leaves us with this final thought for you to take away today. How can you apply this wisdom to pause, to step back from your own anger, and choose your words carefully during your own difficult conversations? Seriously, the next time you feel the urge to lay down an absolute harsh rule in the heat of the moment, remember the king's parrot, remember Tenali Rama's clever framing, and ask yourself, am I setting a trap with my own words? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.